Do you believe that Jesus is alive? The Bible asserts that he is, and Christians for 2 millennia have proclaimed their belief in the resurrection of Jesus. But the question is, if you have the bravery to consider it, do you believe that Jesus is alive? There are actually 3 possible answers that you can adopt. The first is yes, and many of us who are followers of Christ will be quick to assert that we believe that yes, he is alive. If that is you, stick around. We're going to explore at the end the significance of that belief for us. If your answer is no, I can understand that. It is a bit audacious to put confidence in a reality that would have you believe that Jesus died and within 3 days was resurrected back to life. I agree. It does sound a bit like fantasy or science fiction. Plus, added to the fact that Jesus was restored to life, there's also the attending beliefs that he was God's Son, in essence, God in the flesh. And that post-resurrection, he ascended to heaven and rules with God at his right hand. Yes, indeed, that's a lot to digest. But rather than immediately dismissing it, I would urge you to consider the possibility that indeed, in this instance, the supernatural overruled the natural order. But at least consider the claims of the Bible. And just considering that may be worth your time. If you'd allow me, let me give you 3 reasons you should consider the possibility that Jesus is alive. First, it is reasonable. By that I mean there's a certain logic to the fact that Jesus was resurrected from the dead. Let's use a comparison. Consider the pyramids of Egypt and the theory that they were constructed by a superior race of ancient aliens who used their superior technology to construct what humans could not. You no doubt have heard such theories, and many of us likely have dismissed them for one simple reason. There's a certain lack of reasonableness to that theory. Why would creatures who had such superior knowledge and ability travel light years across space to visit a primitive planet just to leave a colossal stack of rocks? Why not some clearly decipherable message about why they were here and the meaning of their visit? Also, there are credible theories as to how humans, even thousands of years ago, with combined effort and ingenuity and simple tools, could accomplish the feats such as the pyramids, as impressive as they are. It just doesn't seem reasonable to accept the alien explanation. Now consider this for reasonableness. Consider that there is an all-powerful God who created us and who cares for us. Further, we understand that humans have an abundant amount of moral failures. Does it seem reasonable that this benevolent God would do something extreme to remedy the results of our flaws? It also seems reasonable that such flaws cannot be fully remedied by our own actions. In essence, we need a Savior. The Savior would have to be superior, in this case God himself, who came into human experience and paid the price for sin through his death on the cross. And through belief in his finished work, we could be restored fully to the God who made us. To many of us, that sounds extremely reasonable. But where does the resurrection fit in? Jesus predicted that he would die and be raised again, which is an easy thing to say, but something that a human could never accomplish. So the resurrection was necessary to be proof positive that Jesus was who he said he was, and that his claims indeed were true. There's a certain reasonableness, in spite of his extreme nature, to believe that Jesus is alive. Further, note the record that we have available to us to consider that Jesus is alive. The books that make up the volume that we call the Bible record accounts of eyewitnesses to Jesus' death and his resurrection. We have documented first-person evidence that many claim that they saw Jesus post-death. In fact, they so believed this message that at least 10 of the 12 disciples died for that belief. If they knew that it was false and they were just pretending it was true, why would they give their lives for something they knew to be a lie? They gave their lives for that which they believed to be true. Here are the words of Peter, who was as close to Jesus as anyone and spoke before a hostile audience and said, "You have taken by lawless hands, have crucified and put to death, whom God raised up, having loosed the pains of death, because it was not possible that he should be held by it." So we indeed have a historical record by multiple eyewitnesses that corroborate each other's story that Jesus is alive. We've talked about the reasonableness and the record. Let's talk about the results. While it may be a bit subjective, I can say for myself, and I know I speak for an unknown multitude of Christians, that having a relationship with him through faith in his death on the cross and the surety of his resurrection, my life has been changed. This change has been documented for thousands of years in the lives of millions of followers of Jesus. Knowing him and following him drastically alters the course of life, the quality of life, and ultimately the destiny of our lives. While we're not perfect, and the record of Christianity is far from perfect, we have as the basis of our confidence of salvation, not in our performance, but in His provision of salvation through His finished work of His death and His resurrection. If you answer yes to the question, do you believe that Jesus is alive? I want to encourage you to use that truth to motivate yourself to continue to see that change take place in your lives. If you're in the category of no, I would encourage you to consider reading the Bible for yourself. I would encourage you to start reading the Gospel of John, which is the 4th book of the New Testament. Don't take my word for it. Take it from this man, John, who was an eyewitness of the resurrection, and see what he has to say about what we should believe. Read it with an open mind and with an open heart and see what God may say to you. If you're in the maybe category, I encourage you to seek out someone who can continue this conversation with you about what it means to be a believer in Jesus. Someone who can answer your questions and direct you to the right spiritual text in the Bible to help you understand what it means to be one of God's children through trusting in Him as the only Savior. It is my prayer that this brief message will cause you to rejoice in or to at least consider the truth that Jesus is alive. May God richly bless you as you do.